My distinct pleasure for the January 25th Without a Roof radio program. I have on the phone for a pre-record Bob Erlenbusch, who is the executive director of the Sacramento Regional Coalition to End Homelessness, and he's also the board president of the National Coalition to End Homelessness. So welcome once again to KCFR 90.1 FM, Bob Erlenbusch.
Thank you for inviting me.
What would you add or expand upon as far as the work you've been doing recently and in the past around homelessness, Bob Erlenbusch?
Currently, one of our city council members, Councilmember Warren, as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, made a presentation towards the end of the council meeting. He asked the city attorney and city manager to come back with a proposal on a moratorium on the anti-camping ordinance that we have opposed for years. And so we're starting to set up meetings with city council people over trying to garner their support. Not only for that, but we also want to add homelessness to the current Sacramento City Non-Discrimination and Equality Municipal Code that would, all the civil rights categories that we're used to, don't discriminate based on age, religion, sex, disability, gender, sexual orientation, sexual identity, all the rest of it. We want to add homelessness so the city and its vendors would not discriminate against homeless people and all the other categories in housing, in employment, and delivery of health care. So that's what we're focused on.
So in other words, you're busy, Bob. Bob is busy and all your friends
down
there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit busy. I love it. I sent Bob the Reducing Homelessness in Chico, California, the presentation that was presented to City Council by Lori Kutsuna, Executive Director of the Jesus Center here in Chico, California. I sent it with no prompts, and I'd like to take it from here from the one word that you had used to kind of sum it up. You said it was pretty flimsy. So why don't we go from there and explain why it's flimsy and what you'd like to see in that report that wasn't there?
It was very, very thin on any kind of real plan. I mean, just even starting off, to their credit, at least they said that homelessness is a human, economic, and community crisis, but nevertheless they left off the moral crisis, the morality around a homeless crisis. But more specifically, they identified 7 different things that they did in 2006. One of them was a one-day event, and 3 of them were meetings. The only real thing that they did in 2016 that I could figure out from the report was the groundbreaking on Valley View Apartments, which didn't have any specificity. How many units is that? What level of affordability? What % of the units are going to be for homeless or extremely low-income people? That's what I meant by flimsy. Really no detail whatsoever. And then I thought it was a little shocking that in the section, who did they want to have in the conversation, listed the usual suspects, but oddly left off, and pretty shockingly left off talking with currently and formerly homeless people, left off housing and homeless advocates, and left off the faith-based community.
Yeah, I thought it was shocking because I went to a they showed this at the Homeless Task Force, and there was a lot of landing points around, engaging the homeless community, which they're not physically doing at the physical level that they need to do. So,
right.
Everyone kind of agrees, but when I kind of question it, well, that's not what the city council needs to know. Well, I think that's exactly what the city council needs to know, what it's going to take to solve this. What do you think, Bob?
Oh, absolutely. Over my 30-some-odd years, we've done a number of surveys of homeless people. One of the ones that we did a few years ago when the Oprah Winfrey Show came out and was filming, the tent city, the big tent city in Sacramento, is we went out and surveyed people why they're there. We had a pretty strong sense of why they are, and overwhelmingly people said, well, I'm outside because of the shelter rules. If you're a mom with
Right.
a teenage boy, you're outside. If you're a couple, you're forced to break up, and most couples, either straight or gay or transgender or whatever, don't want to split up for obvious reasons. And then if you have a pet, you're outside. So, your community's report talked a lot about data collection, but didn't talk about surveying homeless people as to why they're outside in the first place, which was surprising.
They've
Another issue.
They've actually got some surveys around the point in time. So the point in time is canvassing, but they have a survey around it. And for the first time in Butte County, they're actually going to be asking some criminalization questions around.
Good. Well, that's positive.
Yeah. The other thing that was it should have been more positive. We had feedback on this, and I appreciate that they put this together and it was on a short string period of time. But we had
Sure.
conversations in the Homeless Task Force, Bob, Bob, that were really like, people are going, why didn't we talk about this housing? Why didn't we talk about that? So I'm going to put together a little minute or two, and I'm interviewing one of the most main accomplishments we've had in the last month, Bob, is we gave a key to a lady that's got a crisis care and triage. She's on the street helping mentally ill homeless people, but they're in a home. They're in a supportive home, master lease program. That wasn't in there. And there's a bunch of other things. So I agree with you, and I'm going to spend some airtime kind of talking about these housing programs that they didn't talk about.
It's really critical.
It is.
San Francisco Department of Health actually has a model program. They got tired of years ago. The San Francisco Health Department got tired of discharging people to the streets, so they started master leasing apartments. So now people come straight out of the hospital and have a place to go. So, there's lots of very creative things going on up and down the state and around the country, and it sounds like your community left off a few of the model programs that really end and prevent homelessness for people in your community.
I'm going to prompt this question up for you. They asked the person presenting, what kind of data might you need that you don't have? And the lady that was presenting from the Jesus Center, Laurie Kutsuna, executive director, said, well, there's a whole discussion around whether people are flocking here. Flocking's my term. Flocking here for services or not. And I'm exactly. Like, I haven't got any data empirical otherwise. And I'm like, oh my God, if you just looked at the data you have, you're not going to need to be asking this question. So what would you say about kind of continuing to think that that's a question that hasn't been answered?
I've heard the magnet theory for 30 years, and it just doesn't hold up. The example that I think is pretty classic is, if you look at the general assistance level in San Francisco, and then right across the bay, the general assistance level for Oakland is quite a bit lower. If the magnet theory was true, why don't people just get on the BART and come over to get general assistance? It just doesn't hold up. 85% of the homeless people in Sacramento, from their surveys, are from Sacramento. People don't flock to communities for programs. They went to high school here. They might have gone to college here. They know where the emergency room is. They know what local grocery store will let them in and what one's going to kick them out. On and on and on. That whole magnet theory just is laughable. But on the other side of it, as a way to refute that, go ahead and ask your question of residency. You're going to find overwhelmingly somewhere between 75% and 90% of homeless people experiencing homelessness in Chico are from Chico. They're not coming here from, Oklahoma.
If you were to talk to City Council right now and say, irregardless of this report, what would you say in 1 minute to City Council members that might be listening of what we should accomplish first and be looking at right now?
If you don't have one, create a Chico or Butte County Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Fund it to the scale of the crisis in your community and stop criminalizing people experiencing homelessness.